Charles, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we've seen some really disturbing videos coming out of Philadelphia, specifically protesters being gassed.
Right.
Talk to us about your sense of the situation right now, especially given these continuing strong words from the president.
Yeah, it's a confluence of very volatile events that are happening right now on several different tracks. One of the situations is very tense still in Philly. People bracing for another evening of unrest. And then there are a lot of complaints. A lot of folks, particularly, you hear a lot of black leaders in various communities around Philly who are talking about people infiltrating peaceful protests. People who are really not there about the issue of police violence or about structural racism are there to sort of aggravate the situation and make it more violent and setting up peaceful black protesters. I've heard from a lot of black elected officials in Philly who are fed up with that and kind of also telling many people in their community, particularly young people, hey, just be careful while you're out there peacefully protesting or perhaps consider staying home. And so you're seeing a lot of that. I was talking to the mayor of Philadelphia, Jim Kenney, who was also saying that, hey, listen, I'm with this movement, I'm with this moment, but I have a responsibility and obligation as mayor to keep the city safe. So if I feel like residents are in danger, if I feel like my police are in danger, and he was kind of defending the decision to use tear gas. You've all seen very vivid pictures of protesters in Philly on that expressway in Center City being tear gassed. He defended that. He said, hey, there was a volatile, violent situation that sparked off. And, I felt like, hey, drivers were in danger, police were in danger, average bystanders, people were in danger. So we had to make that decision. It was a tough call.
Meantime, you've got the primary voting happening in the state today.
Right.
You've got Joe Biden saying earlier that President Trump has turned his own country into a battlefield, is fanning the flames of hate.
Right.
You've got the president on Twitter calling Americans lowlives and losers, hoodlums and thieves.
Yeah.
How are we even in this state, in this country at this moment?
Exactly. It's very surreal, very bizarre. A very striking contrast between the current president, Trump, who's just very unpresidential in this moment, is just way out of his depth and not even willing to rise to the occasion and just lead. Very striking contrast between him and then Biden, Joe Biden, giving this speech in Philadelphia, which is that's the place where there was the official spark, the official trigger of rebellion, of American rebellion against monarchy. Joe Biden's giving a speech there in Philadelphia. That's the backdrop, the birthplace of democracy. And so people see Joe Biden acting very presidential. That's the kind of leadership that they want in a chaotic, uncertain moment like this. So interesting thing about, just turnout numbers for this primary. Pennsylvania is a key battleground state, of course. Philadelphia is the golden nugget in the corner of that state in southeastern PA. So, you want to watch turnout numbers today because it's a dress rehearsal. It's a fire drill for the big game in November. And actually, we're seeing bigger than anticipated turnout numbers in this primary. The primary turnout numbers in Philly, based on some initial data, show that it's about to surpass the 2012 primary. So that's very interesting because there was an expectation that voter turnout would be abysmally low because people are afraid of going out. You've got so much unrest. But I'm hearing reports also from Washington, D.C. and the nation's capital. They have a primary. Maryland has a primary. There's big turnout at these consolidated polling locations in a sense that people understand the vote-by-mail rhythm. They get it. They're anxious. They want a fix to the crisis that's happening in this country. And so they're getting prepared for that big moment come November.
All right. Charles, I do want to get your thoughts on the role of technology in all of this. Of course, on one hand, you've got social media, which is in so many ways the engine, the motivation for what we're seeing today. You've got Mark Zuckerberg taking a stand, leaving up potentially what's considered violent speech. by the president. Meantime, if you look in every feed, it's pictures, it's images, it's videos, and I wonder if social media is motivating here, or if, on the other hand, it can make us somewhat numb to all of the dangers, given that we are so overloaded with it.
It's a mixture of both. So, this is an unprecedented time in U.S. history because it's the first time where we've had this sense of massive social unrest or social upheaval with all of these media mechanisms and channels and tools at our disposal, right? Like right there at our fingertips. So it's like the first moment in U.S. history where we've had like a multimedia collage of social upheaval, of social unrest. And there's some good aspects to that because then, we have all this communication going on. We're able to see images of police violence and to hold certain leaders, to hold certain institutions accountable. But there's also some very bad and troubling aspects to it in terms of the spread of misinformation and the saturation of so much noise and static. People are leaders, elected leaders especially, institutions are going to have to learn how to manage this moment. And people like Mark Zuckerberg are going to have to learn that too. He's extremely tone deaf. I mean, I personally had deleted my Facebook page after the 2016 election. And I think that's probably the only way he's going to listen is, from civil rights leaders and various folks within the black political and advocacy community. They're going to have to start staging a mass movement to delete their Facebook pages if they really want him to listen and understand what's going on here.